Hi, welcome to the Blackmagic Collective, a user group made for filmmakers by filmmakers. Today we're doing a great stream called Stabilize This about great camera tools made by Tilta in this particular case. I want to welcome, first of all of you from wherever you're viewing from. Make sure to leave comments in the chat, the comment box, because that's how we choose our Resolve winner at the end, by people telling us where they're from and showing us that they're involved. First, let me thank Sigma for allowing us to use their space once again, which is always wonderful, as well as use their wonderful lenses for this stream. I want to thank Blackmagic Design, who is a sponsor of the Blackmagic Collective, and they're always great. They make everything possible for us. And of course, today we're special thanks to Tilta for contributing to our craziness that we've been through over the last couple of weeks for this stream. So first off, let me introduce our guests here. We have Sarah Phillips, cinematographer, Embryo, director and cinematographer, and Sam Delaware, cinematographer and Tilta expert. So what we did, this is how the thing happened. A couple weeks ago, we all went out to the desert. By the way, you can all talk, right?
What's up?
Hey. Sure. Just to make sure they're all very stoked. A couple weeks ago, we went out to the desert and we basically played with 3 of Tilta's rigs. The float system, the camera stabilizer, and the Armor Man, which I think is the cool one. And we kind of gathered some information and cut a little piece together for each one that we can show you in a second. Now, and then afterwards, we can sort of sit and discuss it and talk to you. So what we're gonna do is, we're gonna show you the little piece, but ask your questions about each unit we're discussing in each section. We'll answer as many as we can, and we'll also talk about our experiences using them and any questions that we might have for Sam or each other about how to best apply them to our art. So first off, let's start with our intro video. Hi, welcome to the Four Aces Movie Ranch out in Lancaster, California. Today we're going to be looking at some great camera stabilizers, all courtesy of Tilta. Special thanks to Sigma for providing lenses and Blackmagic Design for providing cameras. We're going to look at 3 systems today: the Float, the Armor Man, and the car mount systems that Tilta offers. So let's get into it. All right. Oh. Yeah, we're back.
Hey.
Sarah was already talking about cool stuff, and it's like what we call stream gold. We got to save that. So there you go. Let's start, Embryo. What were your first impressions of the Float, and how did you feel? I mean, Sam's not staring over your shoulder right now, so don't feel obligated to say anything nice. But
no, I actually really liked it.
love stabilizers. I love stabilized shots, but I really like being able to hold it in that javelin position. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I know we discussed, and we're not sure how you feel about it, but yeah, I liked it. I would absolutely use it.
Sam, that javelin position was something I didn't expect. What makes it better in that position as opposed to upright, like a Steadicam kind of unit?
It's just more versatile, I think. You can only get so many movements in the vertical position that the javelin position does the up and down stabilization, but then also you can kind of telescope in and out into tight spaces. It's not the same system as something like a Trinity system, but you can use it for similar movements in the horizontal position, like you were saying.
Right. So, Sarah, how did you feel about when you were chasing Brittany, trying to get shots? So you felt you were definitely doing the creepy walk, the heel and toe, but
yeah, just even get to the squat position.
Exactly. How did that work out for you?
It was interesting. I mean, so we disagree. I'm not like a javelin operator kind of person, just because I like the camera to be an extension of me. So for me, it's like but I see the benefit of being able to do that, like getting into smaller spaces, like Sam has said. And I know Embryo loves the javelin.
Well, you actually got a really cool shot from the ground up chasing her.
That's true. Yeah, to like come up on her feet and be able to be low like that and then come all the way up.
Yeah, that was cool. I like that.
I think it'd be really interesting if you also have like a second operator to operate the actual gimbal.
Totally.
But yeah, I mean, you can get definitely some height variation that you wouldn't necessarily get. It would be very difficult to get without something like a jib or something.
Totally.
And that's what makes the float system great. You were talking about operating the gimbal. We have a wireless thumb controller where you can actually operate the gimbal if you needed to. If your operator wasn't, paying attention, or if your AC wasn't paying attention, you needed to make a little adjustment on the fly. You have that right on the baby pin, or the baby pin adapter, where you can just make that small adjustment as needed.
Yeah, that's something to make clear. I'm not sure what camera to go to. You're basically mounting an RS2 to the system. So you have all the features of an RS2. You have not only the gimbal control, remote gimbal control, but you also have remote focus and things like that you have. So you can definitely have maybe a couple of operators off to the side while you're focusing on. How different is that from like a traditional Steadicam kind of setup? Either one of you guys?
Oh, significantly. Well, because a traditional Steadicam setup doesn't have a gimbal mounted on a rod or something like that. You are the gimbal essentially, right? Like that's why they have the heel toe walking and all of that, because you are taking out, like it was interesting, I was saying, to see the arm sort of take out the steps versus on a Steady, you're taking out the steps, right? I mean, you do have an arm, but.
Yeah, it's helpful. I mean, it's not a Steadicam. It's its own thing, but it's close. I think it's as close as you could get to a Steadicam with a gimbal outside of actually mounting it on a Steadicam. Right. So I love that type of shot. I love that it's able to at least significantly eliminate the vertical, access point that usually is the problem with gimbals. So it's really useful. I'm excited to explore what type of shots, I could create with it.
Yeah.
I think that's an excellent differentiation, that it's not Steadicam, it's not the Trinity system, it's its own thing, and that you need to spend some time with it in order to learn the kind of eccentricities and the quirks to get it to work for you with, the RS2 or whatever gimbal that you're flying on it.
Yeah, I think any system is different. I think the beauty of the float system and the combination of the RS2 is that, I mean, it'll sound, real basic, but it's price point. I mean, I can't get into any sort of Steadicam-like system for anything. I can't even rent one for most of my films because I'm doing small stuff. And I already bought an RS2, and buying a float system is really accessible. And I think that's key because you're basically getting a lot of tool for a really reasonable price. And I don't know, do people rent it around town or?
They do. Okay. Yeah, they do. People that, like you said, its price point is extremely accessible.
Yeah.
So people end up, buying the rig and renting it out with a gimbal as a package.
Right.
So it's a powerful system for a rental for indie stuff, small commercials where you don't have the budget to to actually hire a dedicated Steadicam operator.
Right.
I'd be curious though what an actual dedicated Steadicam operator would think of the system. Like if it would be something they would use, because usually Steadicam operators are pretty snobby about their setup, which they
That's
should
probably
be.
what you'd find out.
We're
They think
snobby
about
too.
it.
Yeah,
It's-
yeah,
In our
yeah.
own way.
It's not
Right.
But it does. I mean, if you're honest with yourself, and even a Steadicam operator, when people can't afford that, it's a great solution. It does a lot of the same things, and I think more to a certain degree. I think Steadicam is almost like a very focused tool that does one or two things, and you, much like a large camera setup, you have to plan it out, you have to set it up, you need a lot of accessories to make it work. This is the kind of thing, I mean, we set it up. I mean, you were in the desert we're going, you were telling us all how to put it all together from scratch, but still, we had it up in 20 minutes easily. I mean, maybe less, but it's not a difficult system to at least learn to configure. But you're right, you do need to learn to operate it like anything. I mean, nobody can just pick up anything and just know how to operate, even if it's a set of sticks. So,
Yeah.
Kaylee, we have any questions here? She read my mind here. Zaki says, how much does it cost? What about focus? How heavy of a camera can you use with it? Sam, do you want to?
Yeah, so its entry point is between $1,500 and $2,000 depending on some of the extras that you get, and it can really carry up to 7.5 kilograms is what we rate it for, the center post, and but that's obviously too limited by what you can fly on the RS2 since it's specifically made for the RS2. So that maxes out at about 10 to 12 pounds, but you have a little bit of leeway at the top with our float system, which 7.5 kilograms into pounds is you get a maybe 7 or 8 pounds buffer above that if you do end up flying another gimbal system besides the RS2.
Right. So it does, other than the RS2, it works with other gimbals?
Yeah, so it's specifically made for the RS2 with the wireless thumb controller and the receiver that we make. So it's a kind of a no-brainer combo that way. But you can mount any gimbal that has 3/8/16 size threads or 1/4 threads on the bottom that you can then pair with a NATO rail that locks into the top of the center post.
And the thumb wheel does the focus, right?
That's just for the RS2 because that
Just for
actually
RS2.
just integrates with the receiver that you mount on the RS2's NATO rail on the side.
So yeah, let's cover that because I think it was part of the question. The follow focus can work with either the RS2 unit that comes with it, right? Or like a Nano or whatever.
That's correct. Yeah, there's a little toggle on the wireless thumb controller on the back where you can switch between the Nucleus Nano system that we sell at Tilta as well, or DJI's follow focus system, and it's just a switch of a button. So say you had one motor unit from Tilta and one from DJI, and you have one on your focus gear, the other on your zoom or iris control, you can switch kind of seamlessly between the two.
That's your like as you're either operating. So it connects to the arm, but you can also detach it, and an assistant can walk away.
That's correct.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, completely wireless.
Any more questions, Kayla? I'm looking to see. Oh, here we go. What's the price for rental? We don't know that. I mean, who rents it around in LA?
We don't rent it out from Tilta just because of its price point. It doesn't make sense to rent the system when you can just purchase it and rent it out yourself. Or purchase it and it pays for itself in a couple days worth of rentals.
So you just find someone who owns it.
Exactly. There are
So contact
a few.
Sarah or Embryo, who are going to, after this, probably 48 hours, own their own and be renting out in ShareGrid, right?
Exactly. That's the main place that people are renting these out right now, just because of its price point.
Yeah.
Kind of direct to consumer, direct to renter that way.
I don't sub rent anymore because people break my things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've always felt wary about renting out gear. I don't want them to be
I keep
scratched.
very good care of
Yes,
my things.
same,
So
same.
it comes back with a scratch. And I'm like, baby,
I know.
I'm so sorry.
I do know of some people who like have their kit they use, and then they rent the stuff that they used to use so that they don't mess up their, the good stuff.
I admire it. I have a few friends who've
Yeah.
paid for all of their gear through renting it. Granted, it's scuffed up, so that's the trade-off. But
Yeah.
That's
It's
the
the thing.
badge
It's like,
of honor.
right,
it's like an Airbnb, you're going to pay a certain price for running that kind of business. So,
absolutely.
you have to be aware of it. That's all.
Yeah.
Kayla, if we have any other questions, otherwise we should probably move on to our next system. I'll see if there's a question. Oh, a question did come up. I was always wondering, well, this is the thing. I was always wondering how heavy those rigs are. I think that's the art of it. So you, Sarah, you're of a slightly smaller
I'm
stature
easily the
than
strongest
Embryo.
person here. I don't know what you're talking about.
You are. I didn't say anything
She
about
probably,
strength.
she might be. She probably
I'm
is.
saying just you're shorter
Yes.
than Embryo. So when you put it on,
Mhm.
did it feel heavy? How does it feel
No.
to move around?
No, I mean, you kind of figure out your like center of balance. It would be like kind of anything else, but I mean, it's a carbon fiber pole. So that's, I mean, honestly, not hardly any weight. I mean, I would count that as almost zero weight.
It felt really
When
light
it's
to
carbon fiber.
me. Yeah.
And then the batteries on the one end. It's really about the balance of it all, but it's not,
Mhm.
it's certainly not heavy. It's, what would be the equivalent of like carrying it?
I don't know, but I think it's lighter than operating it, without a rig. It
Oh, yeah.
definitely spreads the weight. It didn't feel light at all to me. It felt really
Didn't feel
comfortable.
Didn't feel heavy, you mean?
The
Oh,
weight,
didn't
the
feel
Freudian
weight-
slip.
Yeah.
the weight does really come from what you put on the center post.
Yeah.
The two V mount or gold mount batteries on the bottom, depending on what size, like 90s, 150s, 240s, something like that. It does best with a lot of weight at the bottom. To have that kind of pendulum movement helps with overall balance of the system. And obviously the weight that you put on the actual payload on the RS2 itself, that's where the bulk of the weight comes from, I feel like. As you said, the center post is completely carbon fiber, so it weighs next to nothing, which is nice.
With nothing on it, you could just like a
Totally.
frisbee.
Mhm.
And I think also it's how you operate it. Like,
Yeah.
I think a common habit of a new operator is they let that arm
Mhm.
extend out from their body
Mhm.
because all the pressure is going to be on that harness that's connected to you. And so the further you let it swing out, the more it's going to be tugging on you and pulling you and twisting you. So I've noticed that, you want to keep it into, your body a little bit more. So you're using the arm for this, not using it to drag you out. So,
Exactly.
so I think to the answer to that question, what would you estimate the weight is there, right, of that unit right there?
Just the center post or
With the
everything
camera
configured
and the
on?
RS2.
Probably 10 to 12 pounds, maybe,
so it's not bad.
or less.
And the arm is how much?
The arm is only going to be probably the center post itself.
No, the actual arm that comes off of you.
Oh, the arm itself. That's probably going to be about 5 to 7
Okay.
5 to 7 pounds.
So you-
Because that is metal and construction, metal springs and stuff. So that is not carbon fiber. The center post is just carbon fiber.
So we're talking less than like 20 pounds.
Definitely.
Easily.
Yeah, and all the weight's sitting on your hips and your legs, so it's going to feel like it's even less.
Right.
You're not carrying any weight on your upper body at all.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like 20 pounds.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Any more questions? Okay, good. We're going to jump ahead now to our next unit, which is going to be the Armor Man. And before you go, Sarah's going to go put it on right now while we're watching the video. So if you guys want to do that, we'll play the video. All right, so there's the Armor Man. This our little test with it. We actually didn't have a camera ring grip for it, so we were just rigging a 12K to it kind of loosely. But today we have it set up. Sarah's actually, if you can see her off to the camera right there, she's getting it set up. The thing I like about it is, if you ever remember the movie Elysium with Matt Damon, it's kind of like that. We're not screwing it into her spine that I'm aware of. Maybe Sam will correct me on that, but it kind of looks like that. So we'll get her out here in a second and show you how that works. But did you put that on at all, Vera?
I don't think I put it on.
Yeah.
No.
So what do you think? We'll just talk between us while they work that out. What do you think is the big difference between that and just like a steady rig or an easy rig or something like that?
I mean, I feel like it probably is a little bit better at holding heavier weight. I mean, it's the arms, you know what I mean, that give some pushback. I don't know. It doesn't seem like it would feel the same as a easy rig, but Sarah, you operate easy rigs all the time, so you could probably,
And she's about to probably tell us.
yeah,
So
she'd
this
probably
is,
be able to tell us a little bit more about it.
this is actually the first time Sarah's had it fully rigged on her because, like I said, when we did the event out in the desert, we didn't have every little piece. So that's why we cut early on that video. So this will be interesting. We'll get her to walk out in front and see. But the thing I like about it is again, I haven't even operated either, but it's like putting the combination of the float system in with a ring system. So it's much more advanced, and those arms are really taking a lot more of that pressure off you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
There we go. Sarah's going to come around. Coming around. Ooh.
What's up, guys?
Let's get you in. There you go.
That is one
right.
gigantic lens.
So
It's really the weight of the pancake that gives it all the...
that's pretty cool. That's a good shot from the back camera.
It's like a fisheye pancake.
How does that feel though compared to Easy Rig?
So Easy Rig is, I'm actually an Easy Rig rep. So Easy Rig, or
Nope.
whatever it's called.
You just said you're easy rig rep. Now you're not going to say anything nice.
No.
This
So
sucks.
the Easy Rig is like more sort of all around, and this puts the weight on your hips a little bit with the arms out to the side, which is nice. It feels like very centered. Feels like you could carry a lot of weight as well because you've got it on both arms, right? And then with this little thumb wheel here, I don't know if you can see this, I can control the Ronin
That's pretty cool.
however I want. And then if we had it cabled up, I could pull focus from any of these rings here, these little finger wheels.
So it's worth mentioning too that on the left side, her left arm is properly calibrated for the weight. On the right arm, we have there's two spring adjustments, each of which the arms of the armor man can carry 25 pounds each. The one on her right is a little bit too loose for the system. You would just have to increase the strength of the spring adjustment that's closer to her shoulder there. And she can either do that or she can have an operator do that for her just to increase the spring strength a little bit more. So that's getting it dialed in a little bit better. And yeah, before you have to make the adjustments when the gimbal system is actually on the spring arms, or else it's way too tight to make the adjustments. Obviously, you need to make it for the weight that it's going to be used for.
Right.
So it's worthwhile to rig everything up and then have either an AC or somebody else on set make the adjustments for you on the spring arms.
So the idea here again is it designed to only work with an RS2 setup, or it can just work with a regular camera?
It's not.
grip?
So we have the arms right now in the kind of the side configuration, and they mount via these gimbal ring adapters, and we include bushings to mount something with a diameter that's smaller than this on the advanced ring grip. We took the bushings out for the advanced ring grip because it fits better. But these little quick release mechanisms here that connect to the gimbal rings can be used on any support system that you want.
Cool. Okay, and so, but right now with the RS2, again, you get that multiple functionality of being able to
Exactly.
operate the camera and
Exactly.
Yeah, but
We make
this
the
would
ring
be
grip
great
the
with like
advanced
a
ring grip.
Ronin R2,
Exactly.
a full Alexa Mini, and like Hawk vintage anamorphics, right? Because like that's a big
That's
heavy
true.
build.
Yeah. Right now, we only have a receiver for the RS2, just because the form factor of the
Right.
advanced ring grip with the RS2, it's just made specifically for that. So the thumb controller will right now only work with the RS2. But if you have any other remote control system, you can use that with the Armor Man. You can just switch out the support system and any other gimbal that you want to use.
cool. So how does that feel, Sarah?
I was gonna say it's worth noting that like my arms are not carrying any weight at all, right? I'm pulling down a little bit because it's a light build, but it's like in a world where like when you're operating on a gimbal, the first thing that goes is your arms, and you learn how to like tuck your arms in and how to extend your operating time. But a lot of times when you're on a gimbal, you're shooting something like a oneer, right? So you're like following someone through a house or something like that, very long takes. So it's helpful that my arms are not fatigued like at all because I'm not carrying any weight at all, which normally you would be like carrying the weight of whatever build. In my situations, it's normally a much heavier build than this as well. So,
And like I
it's
said,
kinda lovely.
each spring arm can take 25 pounds each payload capacity.
Yeah.
So you can mount something, sky's the limit, really.
Yeah.
You max out at around 50 to 60 pounds if you really push it.
And just to be clear, that the only reason it's floating up is because you could adjust that so that
Exactly. So when you'd have it properly calibrated, as she mentioned, the payload on this one is very light with the pocket camera and pancake lens, and the advanced ring grip's all carbon fiber. So that makes it extra light. But if you did have something a little bit heavier, how it's adjusted now, when you release it, it should stay in neutral position. It should not fly up, it should not fall down.
Yeah.
Let's see some action moves.
Well, I need an actor.
Let's see some running.
Yeah, we should have actually done a wireless feed
mean-
from this to see what it looks like. But
Yeah.
I imagine it's going to be super
Yeah.
smooth because you're
Generally,
having
you'd be, like,
multiple points
following.
of
Exactly.
Someone through
Exactly.
something.
There's
steady.
2 axes on the arms as
someone
well
through
as
a haunted
the
house.
3 joints.
It feels like you have a lot
Really
of
make it-
space to move around
Yeah. I mean,
in that
And you
configuration.
can push it
point-
out, you can bring it in.
the point Sam made about getting through doors, I see being valid because this could be a problem. But I will say, like, a problem that I find with overhead vest systems, which I've had many, is this casts a shadow. So if you have
Or the
lights,
arm, yeah.
So if you have anything and you're moving through a space, and you have anything overhead coming down, a lot of times you'll get some kind of shadow. And if you're moving through that shadow. And if that shadow is in frame, then post has to take it out, which
So
has happened.
Sam, can you attach that to that ring to the top?
Yeah, how
So
quick
the-
is that?
I'm
Yeah.
just thinking about width too, like if going through a doorway.
I think these little guys can go
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
wherever.
That's true.
right?
We have a set of slightly different gimbal ring adapters that have eyelets instead of just quick release hooks. You can mount those right on the top of the advanced ring grip or whatever sort of other support system you're using, any other ring grip that's similar.
Cool.
That's not made by Tilta specifically. And you just need to put a bracket on the back of the Armorman system, and the arms lock in a slightly different place. And there's locks on the joints that you would need to actually lock before you put it in the overhead configuration. But it's really as simple as that. Put the bracket on, lock the arms, put the different gimbal ring adapters on, and they just lock in.
I love
with
it. So
carabiners.
cool. All right, let's go to a question here. So Joanna says, is it compatible with all gimbals or just DJI? I think you covered that, but why don't you touch on that again?
So right now, she's talking specifically about the advanced ring grip system or the
Yeah.
the Armorman.
Oh,
So
let's cover both.
I'll cover both. So the Armorman obviously can.
Let's make a point here. We're showing 2 products from
Exactly.
Tilta here. So the Armorman is the suit or the vest and the arms, right?
That's correct.
And then the advanced ring grip is a different product that you connect the RS2.
That's
to.
correct. So I can work my way backwards.
Yeah.
The Armorman system is compatible with any sort of support and gimbal that you would wish to use. And we include all of the gimbal ring adapters to do so, both in the overhead configuration and the side configuration.
If you remember during the video that we did, I'm not sure, again, what camera there. I can't see my tally light. That's my fault. So it's the lens is in the way. Anyway, when you watched that video, you noticed that we had a 12K, but we had no ring for it. So we actually jury rigged a bar on the top of it and attached the arms to that. Not the best solution in the world, but it would work technically. So you can almost attach it to anything. Obviously, there are better configurations.
Yeah, really just meant to take the weight off, so it's not on your arm. So any way you can rig it is perfectly fine to get it balanced. But like I was saying, you can use the Armorman system without the advanced ring grip or the basic ring grip that we sell as well, which is the advanced ring grip without the remote control handles. They just have regular handles without the remote control feature on them. The advanced ring grip system, though, those do come with the handles that are really just compatible with the RS2. Right now, the handles connect via the NATO rail receiver that's on the RS2, and Tilta currently doesn't have any other receiver for any other gimbal at the moment. But no reason we can't expand that later.
Right.
So,
Okay. So the ring itself works right now with that.
exactly.
Gimbal.
Yep.
Armorman can work with anything.
Exactly.
So, good.
But it's
Okay.
a great system together.
That can work with the R2.
This cannot right now. I believe the R2 doesn't have the same sort of NATO rail connection on the side. I may be mistaken. I don't want to misspeak, but it's best right now with the RS2.
Okay.
But these little the clamps can clamp.
Those are
onto
fully
the
compatible with
R2,
any
yeah.
other support system that you would want to use. You can put the bushings in if the ring diameter is actually a bit too small. You can even pad it with some gaff tape and then put the gimbal ring adapters on if it's very thin, or you can take the bushings out if it's even thicker than the advanced that we have here.
Okay, so we have another question here. Lilith says, are there price lists for these full systems? Not sure if there are add-ons, et cetera, being shown. So Armor Man, let's talk about that. What's the price on that? And is there anything extra in this Armor Man setup, not counting the ring?
So that does come with everything that you need. It comes with the gimbal ring adapters. I think we include 3 right now, as well as the kind of the springs and the carabiners that you would use in the overhead configuration. It comes with both the spring arms, all the vest padding that you need. That's one of the brackets that you would use in the overhead configuration to loop onto the eyelets for the different brackets. And you can
Let's show that again,
those
Sarah,
as well.
Hold on. Can we cut to that, Kayla? There we go. Yeah, so there's the little,
So it goes.
might see those
on
from
this
a
side, but
Ready Rig or something like
it
that.
goes instead of this slides in to a little rail. Ooh, oh.
So the system,
Did a pretty good job.
the Armor Man system comes with a really nice rolling case as well. All the adapters that you would need for whatever sort of gimbal system that you're using, as well as all the vest padding and the bracket for the overhead configuration. And I believe right now we have that priced at about between $2,500 and $3,000 starting.
So
And we sell a few other small additions as well. But it really does come with everything that you need to get started.
And this is the Ring Grip Pro, right? Because it has the battery and the handle.
So, and then the advanced ring grip system, that one comes right now with everything that you need. It doesn't come with the either gold mount or the V mount battery plate and the module that actually connects for the power pass-through feature. That is separate. Right now, it just comes with a bracket that you would connect the RS2's native battery grip to feed power to both the gimbal and whatever follow focus system you're using if you're tapping power out of the RS2. And it would function to power the remote control handles as well that's connected.
and the remote control handles come with that, or that's extra?
That comes with the advanced ring grip.
Okay.
And that starts right now at $1,800.
Okay.
If you needed the extra V mount or gold mount plates in the module, that is a separate addition because you can use what already comes with the RS2 to power the whole system.
Yeah.
The battery life is not going to be as long, so I recommend people look at purchasing either the V mount or the gold mount, both the module and the plate. That does extend the battery life significantly. You can see
we have
the V mount.
Show that, Kayla.
Right
We
now.
have a V mount battery on there.
On your left hand,
on the
just
ring,
tap there.
right there.
It's simply a module that connects to the pins that are already fabricated into the advanced ring grip system to pass power through to the gimbal. And then the V mount plate or the gold mount plate connects to that same module, whatever option that you get.
Let's get another question in real quick. So Zach, generally, how many people does it take to efficiently assemble the Armor Man?
One person and whoever's wearing it.
So
That's what I would recommend. You can configure it yourself. We have a C-stand like baby pin adapter where you can actually mount the vest system on the back if you want to show people.
Can we show
when it
that,
turns to
Kayla, on the
camera.
back there?
We
Oh,
don't
we
have
got it.
the
Here we go.
bracket on
Great shot.
right now, but it would mount to the center of the vest system, and you can actually rig it up completely on a C-stand by yourself, and get the arms locked and configured and locked in. We have little adapter pins on the left side here, if you want to show them. Right here, where you can actually mount these, and there's little loops on the side of the arms as well, where you can kind of just seat them to lock. And if you lock them in and have it mounted on a C-stand, you can certainly get it balanced and then just actually lift it off the C-stand yourself to get it completely configured.
But I guess we'll say the official answer is it'd be nice, the operator and another
I would
assistant.
highly recommend two people.
can be.
Although if you did want to use this in a run and gun type situation, you could feasibly do it yourself.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah.
All right. Do we no more questions? Okay. Let's relieve Sarah. Not that she's having to do much right now to hold that up, but
You should just come sit with that whole gear.
let's go ahead and look at the car mount system. And I'll just have to peek around for. All right. I think we're live again. All right. So now that was the car mount system. And Brittany's stalling my car, but she did well. She didn't grind any gears or anything. So we're going to look at, we have a different car today. And we're looking at the car mount system. Sam, do you want to just give us a quick rundown of what the setup is here?
Yeah, of course. The Hydra Alien, this is the Hydra Alien system. We have two car mounting systems right now. The Hydra Alien, which is this configuration with this kind of proprietary arms here in the suction cups. And then we have the Hydra Predator system, which is the exact same system minus the arms here in the suction cups. And instead, we mount a 2-inch speed rail clamp on the back of the spring arm here. So right now, we just kind of have it configured on a kind of corner mounting system. But you can completely reconfigure the suction cups and these arms. They all separate from each other, so it's very modular, and you can mount it on really any spot on the car. The Mini Cooper is quite compact, so there's not a lot of great mounting points. So we have two suction cups we have 3 suction cups on 3 separate panels, and that's, for safety reasons, obviously extremely important. And if we were really using this on the road as well, we'd want to ratchet strap this down. But essentially, we just have the suction cups mounted to this rail system here, and it's as simple as attaching it to the car and hitting these buttons here on the side until this little white line disappears, and it's actually just a vacuum that suction cups right onto the side of the car.
And it's super strong vacuum.
Extremely strong.
I have the video from your website. Don't tell anybody. We'll show in a second, not yet, but it shows this rig doing some amazing stuff on some great race cars. That's why I
really
got it,
fantastic.
So,
we were at Cinegear this past weekend, and I was showing people a little sequence from Phantom Thread. It's a very nice kind of car tracking shot.
Nice.
And that, and there's one where they had it rigged up on speed rail from the back of the car, but there's a shot that cuts from behind the car. There's a tracking shot following a car ahead of them, and then there's another shot of Daniel Day-Lewis actually driving.
Oh, nice.
And you could achieve the exact same thing with either one system, or you could rig up all three at the same time and get them all at once.
So Sarah, you actually, as we saw in the video, you were rigging this. How did you feel it was for ease of use and flexibility?
I mean, so this was the thing I was the most excited about, because doing as much indie narrative as I do, truly like all of these systems being modular with the RS2 is pretty clutch. It's kind of like we were talking about apertures having the same front, right? All those lights, like that's a huge deal, because then we can sort of move things around. So this is super helpful in that sense. Like, I think it's two sort of different scenarios, right? You've got like one scenario where you've got $1 billion and you're going to have a whole car team. And then you've got the indie scenario where people don't want to give up interesting shots, right? Necessarily. And this is something that can solve that problem. So, I mean, it definitely takes a little bit of finessing and having someone who knows about safety and car rigging still. Like, you're not going to want to just go out with your brother and put this on your car, and because that's the fastest way to lose a camera.
And that's a great piece of advice, I think, for all of these systems.
Yeah.
Like he was saying as well, you really do need to spend time with each system to get it dialed in exactly how you want to.
Yeah.
There are just some quirks. Just there is no other system like this on the market right now at its price point. So you just need to get comfortable with exactly how it's supposed to be used.
Yeah,
so when you
definitely.
talk about the safety issues, I mean, right now there's, other than suction cups, there's really nothing holding that to the car.
Exactly.
But
so you want to make sure
how do you make sure that it's secure? Yeah.
So the first thing is that you want to make sure that your surface of your car is completely clean before you mount the suction cups. That's extremely important for safety reasons and to not scratch your paint job.
That was my first question when you were rigging.
Exactly.
We were talking about my car. I'm like, it's going to scratch my car. But no.
The second step is obviously to make sure that you have points of contact that aren't failure points on the car. So obviously you don't want all three suction cups mounted to one pane of glass. Very important. Or even one pane of the actual body as well, just in case. And then the other point to make would be to actually just ratchet strap this down inside the car, somewhere on the frame. And you're going to want to do that obviously in the kind of 180 degree point. So you're going to want to have this straight back. So if one of the suction cups or some of the suction cups did come off, if you were going really fast or around a corner, you didn't have it rigged up properly, it shouldn't come off. But if you didn't have it rigged up properly, the ratchet straps would hold it onto the car, and you can stop on the side of the road and reconfigure.
So you must have at least one horror story if you've heard of people. I can do. When Brittany
I've had more than one.
When Brittany was running on the Z4,
Yeah.
I wanted her to go around the building, and then we realized that the fit might be too tight, and she might just wipe the entire camera off.
That's a real possibility.
Yeah.
Also people that have had it mounted on one pane of glass. I've heard horror stories of that as well. The glass would be the weak point of that system, and the glass just shatters and completely wrecks your whole system. So
I mean, it's also worth pointing out, like, you're limited to what the RS2 can do, right? So
that's true. The cool thing about the system, though, like the Armor Man, like the Advanced Ring Grip, like the float system, you can mount any sort of gimbal that you want. Our spring arm here in the suction cup system is rated for a significant amount more weight than the RS2 can handle. So the RS2, maxes out at 10 to 12 pounds right now, depending on what you have rigged up. And you get that number drops a little bit with some wind resistance as well, because the gimbal's motors are doing the heavy lifting with the wind resistance also.
So could you do the Ronin R2, like the previous build I talked about?
You can.
Right? And Alexa Mini with some.
So right
vintage
now we have this configured up
anamorphics.
with the RS2. It is hooked up to a power supply base plate. It's a 2-pin LEMO connection on this side, cable included to PTAP. So you can tap into one or both of these, either with a splitter or just one of these PTAP to 2-pin LEMO cables that come with the system. It's connected onto the RS2 directly via the RS2's locking mechanism, and then we add in an extra mounting bracket for safety that locks from the top down if you're going to understand the gimbal, which is very important to have for safety as well. That being said, though, you can mount any gimbal that you want to the spring head assembly with a quick release plate that locks into the bottom of your gimbal. So you can simply mount the quick release plate on the bottom via threads, lock this in and fly whatever gimbal
So it
that
could
you
be
have.
on a Mogi, or it could be on a.
That's correct. Yep.
drone.
Yeah, it's just a matter of what can fit in the space provided by the spring arm.
Let's get a question really quick. I think we have one coming up. I have to lean over. Joanna asks, how fast can you go with it mounted on? Well, actually, this is a
That's a
great
G-force
great
problem?
segue. Kayla, would you please play that video that I have there? That's the next one down. You can just. So that was us driving to the studio this morning.
Yeah.
In
your car collection.
In my car collection, I wish.
John's also a stunt driver,
Yeah.
so.
I have stories to tell you about that. That I am a little bit of a stunt driver. So when we were talking about this a little bit in terms of operating, we repeat what you said, Sarah.
Oh yeah, no, just like even just from that reel, you can tell they have multiple operators, and I think that all of these systems, while they're appealing to people who want to do it all, that can sort of be a trap. I think like you certainly want for the most dynamic shots, you want someone who is operating the actual Ronin. Like if you're doing Javelin, like you're going to want someone on a remote operating like the actual Ronin, and you're the one moving the camera, or you're operating the remote and someone pulling focus. While it has the capability to do it all yourself, I think you limit yourself by being too ambitious sometimes.
Totally. I mean, they're doing that
yeah.
with the gigantic Trinity setups. You have
Yeah.
2, 3, 4 operators.
You just get a better repeatable product
Yeah.
by doing that. And it's similar to the way drones are now, where people want one person to do it all, but you get limited to where you get one super awesome shot, but you can't repeat it because it's just, magic if you're moving with your body and operating multiple axes with like the float, right? But then you're also considering all of the axes of the Ronin, right? So you're an axis and that's an axis, and you're trying to focus at the same time and keep people in frame. Like if someone's running, that's like many jobs all done. And it's possible. It's just going to be like your whole day doing it over and over and over and over again.
And this is what we tell people who, buy Tilta products as well. Because the space has become more democratic and the entry point is kind of opened the playing field up to anybody now because of its price point, doesn't mean that you don't have to do your due diligence and pre-production and make sure that everything is safely configured, that it's properly balanced, and you have to spend time getting to know the system to get, really good shots.
Yeah, because it's super appealing to be like, "Ooh, cool, car shots," but like you still, having done them on major commercials, like you still need a lot of like G-forces are no joke, and your Ronin will just,
But it's cool because you could still have a very small crew and get by.
Yeah, and
right, as opposed
at the
to
very least, you have a 2-person crew. I mean, you can still get some creative shots and figure out a game plan on how to approach the operating.
Yeah, and also failure can be expensive. Just because the price point of this system that we sell at Tilta is not expensive, you're adding the cost of the camera, you're adding the cost of the gimbal, You know, so if you're really trying to take it to the next level and you're flying something very expensive, even something like a Komodo, you know, which is a drop in the bucket for some productions, but for smaller independent work, failure can be a very, very expensive experience.
Right,
So,
but on like the
make sure you
positive
have it
side as
safe.
well, like speaking of the Komodo, an excellent small-bodied camera with incredible capabilities.
And yeah,
for
we
this
had
kind of
that rigged up
thing.
on the RS2 at Cinegear, and it's a great combination.
Yeah.
The resolution of the Komodo, the form factor fits on
Right.
the RS2, the
So all
weight
those things being
profile.
said, like saying you do have a chase car, you have someone pulling and you have someone operating from that chase car, like that's a super reasonable thing. And it does make it accessible to a lot more people and a lot lower budget productions that otherwise would not have access to a car shot
Exactly.
that might make their film that much more dynamic.
Exactly.
I think that's the big thing about Tilt. I didn't want to make this like a Tilta advertisement, but it's become one. But only because, as indie filmmakers, we're always trying to find tools that are easy for us to use. We have less time to do stuff. We have less money. We have less personnel, but we still want to make a high quality product. And we can always do that with cameras. I mean, there's now so many cinema cameras out there. Blackmagic makes a ton of them that do amazing work that don't cost a fortune. And Tilta's kind of solutions here, combined with the DJI solutions, are really amazing. They're giving you that functionality.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be aware. I mean, when we say you need like extra crew to operate, it doesn't mean you have to go and hire a union, assistant. It just means that you need to plan it out and make sure whoever is assisting you is familiar with how to, follow focus or how to operate the gimbal while you're, doing the armament or whatever. It's just being smart about it. But the Tilta solutions kind of give you all this for a much more reasonable price than almost you can get anywhere else.
Yeah, I would say if you're using any of these solutions, I would definitely schedule a prep day. You should anyway for all productions. Little plug, but also especially for these things, like anyone needs to be familiar, especially even if they're familiar with the setup. They're going to want to get familiar with the specific items that you're going to have on set.
And I would say that's a great point. Tilta is catering to a level of filmmaker who is unhappy with people who are not doing their due diligence before and who want to take it to the next level, but may not have the means to do so quite yet, but are still planning on doing their due diligence, pre-production, all the necessary safety work in order to get really, really great shots.
Great. Do you have another question? Oh, I guess we don't have another question. Well, now's your chance. We're about ready to wrap up. We're almost done with our wonderful Stabilize This event. So get your last questions in. Also, remember, asking questions shows you participate, and we choose our winner of our Resolve seat out of that, particularly if you're a Blackmagic Collective member, which is free to join, by the way. Hint, hint. You get a lot of these great events. So last thing about this rig here. I see some arms, and in the video, I saw a lot of additional things. What comes with the base kit, not the RS2, but what comes with the kit in terms of arms and mounting?
Yeah, so the Hydra Alien Kit that you see up here comes with everything that you see in terms of the suction cups and the arms. It comes with 3 suction cups, 2 smaller ones and 1 larger one. It comes with 4 of these arm systems. Right now, we don't have them listed separately on our site for purchase, but if you did need some extra suction cups or arms, they're all modular and they all come apart. So you can feasibly order some more if you want to reconfigure in a different way than what's available with just the 4. It comes with the spring arm, the dampener, which is on the other side that you can't quite see here from camera. This just acts as a higher degree of stabilization. We added this later on after the Hydra came out. People were using this at very high speeds over very bumpy terrain with some heavier payloads, and the spring arm itself wasn't quite cutting it. But since the RS2 maxes out at about 10 pounds, this should be more than sufficient. It comes with the bracket head assembly and 2 battery plates of your choice, V-mount or gold mount. It comes with the spring head assembly that counters lateral movement and is supposed to absorb that a little bit more. It comes with a quick release plate, and it comes with all the cords necessary to power from the dual battery plate as well.
And what if you wanted to do the speed rail version?
Speed rail version is everything here from here on, minus the kind of proprietary rail system and the suction cups, and you instead trade that for a 2-inch in diameter speed rail clamp, all metal fabrication that mounts to the back of the spring arm.
What about modifying these springs?
Yeah, so that's a question that does come up often, and it is something that Tilta is looking at to add to our lineup, a different version of that, because the RS2 maxes out at 10 to 12 pounds, and the system is more or less created for that, although you can fly other gimbals. This spring head assembly here that's supposed to counter lateral movement in 360 to, the 360 degree plane on the horizontal, does end up being a little bit too strong for some applications if you're running something extremely light, like the pocket cinema cameras from Blackmagic. So we're looking at maybe extending the length of these pieces of rebar in here just to add a little bit more stabilization. But it's nothing that you can't modify yourself if you do need to do that. This bracket comes undone with some hex screws, and you can add in some springs or something if you want. But
I think we have one more question. Kayla? She's looking. Here it is. Oh, Joanna, our friend. She has good
Joanna's
questions.
killing it.
How long does the battery last? Well, we're using V-mount batteries here, so it's a much longer. You can run 2, right?
It's however
That's
many
correct.
watt hours you've got on your batteries.
Yeah.
yeah, so these
long
are
time.
about 150s on here. You can put any size you want. They're standard, any brand, gold mount or V mount. They have P-taps out as well as DC out as well, both 8-volt and 12-volt. Obviously the P-tap out is standard 14.8. You can either, we only include the infrastructure to run from one at one time, but that doesn't mean that you can't connect the 2 plates via a splitter and tap power from
It's
both.
also worth mentioning these are for pass-through power for this. This is a mechanical arm.
That's correct.
It's not a powered arm. So
That's
So the
correct.
power is just
Right.
powering the Ronin.
Yeah.
It's simply a spring and hydraulic on this side. This bracket, like you said, doesn't pass through power. You are getting power from the supplied 2-pin LEMO for the RS2 here, the power supply base plate, to the P-tap right on either the V-mount battery itself or the plate.
I think we have one last question, and then we're going to have to wrap this up. We're all peeking in here. David says, have you found a car that this base system isn't compatible with? For instance, old body angles or surfaces that aren't friendly to suction cup mounting points.
I mean, how does it do with like matte paint jobs?
It does it just fine, actually. Like I said, you have to make sure the surface is as clean as you can get it. You just have to give the suction cup some pressure when you actually go to mount it to the car to actually activate the vacuum and the kind of the locking mechanism. Yeah. But it can mount to matte. It can mount to this glossy surface like we have here on the Mini Cooper. I have not found a car yet that you can't mount this to. I'm sure they're out there. I'd love for somebody to find one and let us know.
Yeah, I think that it's as long as the suction can work. The
exactly.
Suction cup.
And like I said, you can reconfigure this. So right now, the Mini Cooper doesn't have a lot of good mounting points off the corner, so we kind of just slid it over a little bit, and you can shoot from this angle on the RS2. But it's sky's the limit.
Great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for us here. I'm going back to this camera. I don't know which other camera to look at. Thank you very much for joining us. Let's do a real quick selection. I'm talking very slowly as Kayla figures out who the winner of the DaVinci Resolve Studio seat is. And she says the winner is, we're waiting for the winner. Yep, drum roll. In the meantime, thank you very much to Tilta for their support here, for Sigma, as always, for supporting us, and Blackmagic Design, our lead sponsor. Make sure to look on our website, blackmagiccollective.com, for the next event. I think we're doing one about composing for film and TV, so it's going to be very interesting. All these events are free. We do a lot of career advancement initiatives as well, all free. Ton of stuff for free. You get to meet a lot of great people. When we ever get back to real life events where we are in a big group, you're going to meet some amazing people, and that's what filmmaking is all about, particularly indie film. So the winner is Joanna.
Hey, our girl.
She asked all the questions. She does deserve it. She asked
She's
a lot
the
of
chat
questions.
hero.
Thank you, Joanna. We'll be reaching out to you, and other than that, we'll see you next time.